increase the bandwidth or whatever. I'm not, I haven't worked out every little kink with this, having all these cameras on. I have 3 cameras on. So, and I'm running OBS software, so I don't know. I'll have to see how it works. So, let me record too. I almost forgot. Oh, it is recording. Oh, okay. So it never stopped.
Rob, just a tip for you. If your screen turns black again, you can just try to restart OBS instead of restart Zoom. Sometimes that happens. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me write that down. Restart OBS. Okay. Okay, I'll write that down. Yeah, if we get this problem again.
It's frozen? Yeah, I think your image is frozen.
So
you restarted OBS.
What a week we've had.
Try restart OBS. Your camera is frozen.
It is?
Your head, your small thumb on the.
Just restart it. Just shut it off and restart it.
Yeah, just try that. Yeah, you're back. Good.
Okay. Maybe that's the issue, huh? We'll see. Okay. Anyway, I guess if worse goes to worse, I'll just shut all these darn cameras off and just do it like I used to. We'll go old school. All these cameras. But
maybe
okay.
two cameras is enough. If you can
Yeah.
only to one. If it
so yeah,
you don't have enough.
I could always just shut me off. I could just shut me off, huh?
It's okay now.
Especially when I'm looking down the whole time, whatever. You guys get a good view of my forehead.
It's good to
That's
see you
about
now. Everything's okay, so just keep going.
Yeah, okay. Just let me know if you can. All right. Thank you, Henry. Okay. It's just gonna be like that for a while. Oh, I'm just get out of whack here. I must have hit that. I'm just trying to get my.
Looks like your one of the camera is frozen.
The one with me?
Yeah.
It's frozen now, huh? You want me to just turn that off?
It's okay. It's okay on mine. It's not frozen. You're fine.
Okay. All right. Well,
Henry's in.
if it does, I can turn it off.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, talking about weird stuff. So my wife went over to her sister's house because her father lives there with her sister to help take care of him, and then he got ill, and then it turned out he was positive for COVID. So he's back at home and doing well, but and then her sister-in-law's husband came down with it. So Carol's been down there, and now but Renee.
Did you lose Rob? I cut off.
Yeah. We just lost Rob.
Yeah, we lost Rob.
Yeah. He will come back, so. Lynn, can you turn your video off, please? We're all trying to turn our videos off. Thanks.
And if you don't know how, you go and stop video. Hit stop video in the little corner.
At the bottom of the page, or bottom left.
Thank you all. It's off.
I guess we lost Rob.
Yeah.
I think his bandwidth may be a problem.
Maybe it's just a problem right now, because it's never been a problem before. Maybe there's something going on in the
I think
neighborhood.
the internet is jammed. These days very slow. My internet network is also very slow.
Yeah. Plus, he got another camera. So probably the other camera is also affecting it.
I texted him, but I think his phone is off.
Sometimes takes a minute or two.
I see several people with their bandwidth that their videos on, and you want to turn those off. It just turns your picture off, so it cuts down the bandwidth use.
Maybe you should name names.
Well, if you look at the screen, if you see a picture of yourself, that's you.
So there is Alicia.
Yeah, Daryl, your video is on too. Can you turn that off, Daryl?
Daryl, yeah, turn your video off. And Alicia.
You know how to do that, Daryl?
Yeah, you may not realize you have your video camera on.
Michelle, yours is on too. I see your picture of younger you.
Yeah, no, that's off. That video is off because that's just a photo, Dan.
Oh,
Daryl Yee, can you turn your video off? You go to the bottom left. There's a little video camera photo, and if you click on that, perfect. Thank you.
It sounds bad about his relatives.
Okay, is everybody okay? I got kicked out.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, off again.
Off again, huh? Wow.
Oh, it's on?
Hi, George. We're trying to turn off our videos to reduce the bandwidth,
Okay.
but good morning to you.
Good morning.
So, oh,
Well, now we're back.
okay. So yeah, George, I got a whole bunch of COVID around my house.
Oh
Looks like maybe Renee's got it, and I don't know if Carol's got it. Carol's getting tested. She probably got it from her father. She went to help out her father, and he had it.
no. Oh no.
So she's around there with 2 masks on and gloves on and everything, helping out in Riverside. And but Renee was down there, and I think she brought it home. So, and I've been watching her. She's doing okay, but isn't that crazy? That stuff spread like wildfire.
Is she going to get a test?
Yeah, she's, it's hard to get a test, by the way. Wow. But she can't get a test till tomorrow, and then we'll find out.
Okay, where's she going to get the test?
I mean, she has to go to Dodger Stadium. We were going to go to CVS, but you can't. They're filled.
Oh.
Rob, spotlight yourself, please.
It
Well,
was
I
a
myself, yes.
long line at Dodger.
Yeah. Thank you. So isn't that crazy? Oh well.
Yeah. Oh well.
We'll see.
So you're wearing a mask around everyone.
Yeah, not in here, but I mean, she's in the old. But oh yeah, we're keeping it kind of ridiculously clean, but we're being overprotective. Yeah.
Well, I bet you need to be.
Yeah. That stuff really spreads. Oh, okay. So I just wanted to let the doctor know. Okay. And then we have this little corner right here, right? We have stuff like that right there in the corner.
We haven't seen you doing any of this, Rob.
You can't see me?
Well, we can now, but we didn't see any of you explaining what you were drawing.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah, if this happens again, I think I'm just going to shut off the OBS altogether.
Well, you've added the camera for your palette, which we could probably do without, although it'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, let's just see what happens. If it does, I'll shut off the 2 extra cameras, and then I'll shut off I'll shut off my I'll just go back to the way I was doing it before, and hopefully that'll work. Okay, so yeah, anyway, this is the top of the tree line, and if you come back to here to about where, if you measure this distance from there, let's see, about halfway from the treetop to the base, just flop it. Basically, you know, if you think of this as a big mirror on the ground, you're just flopping this. So really, see how it just makes like a dome? That's why I made it like this. So you can see that really, it's just a circle pattern. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but can you see how to use that to gauge? We can throw now. We can throw all kinds of, you know, little things like that in there, and using that as a guide. But we've got very clear, I mean, very, very still water. So it is quite a reflection of this, whereas sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just a blur. You got that, you got this, like that. We've got, remember to mute yourself, everybody, okay? And stuff in there, like that. And then really you're just making a mirror of this. So we come down here, we take this stuff down into here. Like that. This, so you might get some of this, you might get some of that. A little bit, yeah. And then this stuff here.
Rob,
Yes.
since we missed it, what is that horizontal line going across relate to?
The shoreline?
That line. Oh, that's the shoreline. Okay, I couldn't decide if it was the shore or the ground.
Yeah, you know, yeah. Oh, yeah, you know what? I kind of messed that up for myself, didn't I? Let's see, wait. If that's the shoreline, and the ground, the grass is around here. So I should have taken that out. You can't really see the grass being reflected into the water because it's flat. It's not enough of an angle. And something like that. Okay. Make sure to mute yourself. Okay. This is just a warm-up, you guys, okay? So, oh yeah, but you know, I forgot my white. Hello. Oh yeah, good old white. Good old white. You can use white gouache if you have Chinese white. That'll be just fine. But here's something I'd like you to do. You know what? I hate to put white on my watercolor palette. I'm gonna get my other palette here. Yeah. Take ultramarine blue and lemon and make yourself a green.
Rob, I missed the beginning. You're just going to do a color study? No value?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, now take take ultramarine blue and cad yellow. I just want to show you the different kind of greens you can get, because he's got tons of different greens in this. So there's a couple of different greens you can get. Make sure you mute yourself, please. Now let's just do it again. Let's take the, what do you call this? The Prussian blue, and add lemon yellow to it. Guys, are you muted? Please mute yourself. I can hear a bunch of stuff back in here.
Jane, mute yourself. So
try your lemon yellow with the Prussian blue. And then try your cad yellow with the Prussian blue. Put them all right beside each other and just see how they work. Here's some cad yellow. Throw a little Prussian blue into that. So we have a variety of yellows. Now if you take little bits of cad red, little cad red, that's a lot of cad red, little cad red, and add it to your green, you see you get something like that. Maybe a little bit of cad red added to this one. Very little bit of cad red. Doesn't take much. Because all you're doing is neutralizing the green. You're making it grayer. Now already we have got a multitude of green. And then when you keep mixing these in different ways, you'll get just all kinds of greens. But as you can see in the painting, in his painting, we've got some very blue, sagey greens on the bottom, and right above that we've got these yellowy greens. And then in the back we have these dark blue greens. So generally, for the bluer greens, I'll use the Prussian, and the yellowy greens, well, I'll use the Prussian too. The thing is, the ultramarine blue has a little bit of red in it already, so it'll tend to gray the green. You'll get a more natural green that way. One of the reasons I use a lot of Prussian blue is because I want to see I want to get a really pure green out there, and then I want to add as much or as little red to it as I want. So anyway, I just want to show you all these different greens you can use. And there's just multitudes of different ways. So, okay. So let's just start off. In the sky, we've got a yellowy thing happening. I think I'm going to go with the lemon yellow. Gotta get that stuff off there. I'm going to have a green sky. A little bit of lemon yellow in the sky. And and it does not take very much at all. I'm going to go right over the lavender, the hills in the background right here. Just right over that. And go right over all this. Turned out kind of green too, didn't it? It's so hard to get that off your brush. And it looks like there's a touch of ultramarine blue up here on the top, just a little. And then you can go ahead and add, for your lavender background, just magenta and ultramarine will do that. Maybe a little bluer than that. So more ultramarine than I put in there. Let's see how that works. And by the way, you know what? Just take a little bit of white and put it in there. Watch, see? See what I'm doing here? Here I go. I got a little bit of white on the edge of my brush here. Just mix it in. I think in the sky too. A little bit of white in there. Make sure we mute ourselves, okay, everybody? Let's see if I can. Yeah. Charlotte, you gotta mute. I'll mute you. Okay. So then, and I don't want to get too picky on this because we don't have all day. So for these background trees, they've got a lot of blue. So just take your green, the blue or green, whichever one you want. I would say this is the ultramarine blue and the lemon yellow. Let me see what I got there. I like that color, but I want it darker. It does have some red in it too. Very little cad red in that. But to get it dark, I think you're going to need some Prussian at the bottom. So, let me see what I got there. Yeah. It gets really dark. That was just Prussian blue. So I got a little cad red in that. Now, as you can see, the green in front of it has got cadmium yellow in it, right here. We're going to have to go over this again. So, you know, a very similar color on the grass. I'm just going to go right over these bluer ones and right up this tree on the side here. So that's the green with a lot of cad yellow in it. And if I were really thinking, I would have just thrown that into the water, huh? Why don't we do that? Since I have this on the brush, he gets a little grayer in the water. That's okay, we'll just hit a little bit of that into the water. So in other words, what I was saying is that if I were really thinking, I would have taken these colors while they were on my brush and just pulled them into the water. It's kind of hard to keep track of all that stuff. Sometimes it's not a good idea to do too many things at once. So why don't we just copy this? Just do this in reverse. Take these colors you had up here and put them down here. So I'm going to do that right now.
And Rob, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're not modifying the color in the reflection, or are you?
It's pretty much the same in this case. In this case, it's pretty much the same. It's not exactly. Usually water is a little bit darker and a little bit, I'm sorry, the lights are a little bit lighter and the darks are a little bit darker. Wait, am I right with that? No, I'm sorry, let me do that again. The darks are a little bit lighter, okay? And the lights are a little bit darker. So in other words, if you see these light bushes over here, as they're in the water, see how they're a little bit darker? And maybe the darks up here and the very dark part up here might not be as dark down into the water. So, but in his case, the way he did this, it's almost identical. And it can be that way in these kind of conditions where you've got water that's absolutely still. And it's probably deep water. So you're not getting a lot of that pond scum color in there, you know, so it could be very clear. Oh. We'll just paint it like we see it here. It's pretty much the same. So I'm going to take that darker color here and just go over that. It's a little bluer than what I did. Sometimes you have to go over it a few times. And then we've got this lighter, greener stuff right in front of it. Remember, this doesn't matter. This is just a quick analysis so we can get going, because we could get really carried away with this and then just blow all of our time. Again, I'm just going to go right over this, and we'll put the lighter sagey colored bushes right over this when it dries here a little bit. Now, I take the sky. We definitely could have done this first. And I really don't think it matters. But let's take in that lavender color and mix a little white in it. So it's magenta, ultramarine blue, and a touch of white. And just put that. I'm not seeing much in the reflection. I'm going to put a little bit in there anyway. Sorry, Zorn. I'm sure he's looking down on us right now going, what did you do? All right, so And then let's just take this lemon yellow, and then I threw a little bit of ultramarine at the top here. So I use just lemon yellow. Oh yeah, and remember I added a little white to it. So, you know, I'm gonna just throw that down there like that. Add a little white to it. It gets too green because it mixed with the other color. It's probably fine. I'm seeing some green in his water. If it gets too out of control, just blot. You know, my secret to the universe. Just blot. And, oh yeah, up here we want it a little bit. So we want the ultramarine with a touch of white in it up here. Yeah, now in the water I'm looking at, I don't see too much of the ultramarine like he did up here, which he's wrong again. Oh, sorry. It just goes to show you right there. I mean, technically, you would have blue. If you had blue up here, you would have it, you know, right here in the water. You would have a lot more blue, actually, even bluer down here, probably. But he left it out. So you can put it in or leave it out. It's up to you. I can take a little bit of that ultramarine. I mean, I took a little bit of that lemon right back over it. And this looks like a pretty darn good reproduction, but even a good reproduction won't show you exactly what they did. But I'm sure that there's no blue in the water. Technically, this kind of looks like the morning, but it doesn't really matter. You would have more blue right here, because you're seeing much more sky than you are here. You're seeing the sky all the way up to like here. So, oh well. Now, I want to throw these, let me throw a little bit more dark into my water here. I was waiting for that to dry up a little bit so I could throw a little bit more dark into my water. Right around there. Now, for this first range of bushes that are in front of the background trees, if you look at the tops, make your green. I would use the ultramarine blue and cad yellow. And then go ahead and add yourself a little bit of white to that. One of the keys when you're doing this too is don't use very much water. You want to keep this kind of not too watery. And put over here, spread your bristles a little bit. This is Henry's General Wong brush. And hit the tops like that. This will dry darker. You got to kind of pop it first. So yeah, I'm hitting it pretty strong. And there's some up in here too. Take these angles and just flop them down into the water. So if this is going uphill right here, then right here it'll go downhill. I got a couple of those and a couple of this into the water. Excuse me. Rinsing my brush. And I'm noticing that it got pretty dark right back in here on his. So let's hit some dark. Using Prussian blue and maybe even a little bit of red. Very little. Maybe 1 or 2% red in that. Like that. That without that dark, the light sagey bushes won't pop. So while we're at it, there's another dark in the background over here too. I want to hit that. Let's just hit that right over it. And then let's add white and Prussian blue with a very little bit of yellow, lemon yellow. Let's see what that looks like. So again, I'm making sure the tips to my brush aren't too perfect. So that'll give me a nice little irregular edge. Yeah. And then after you've done that, just repeat it in the water like this, uphill. So if this goes downhill, maybe this goes uphill like that. This goes downhill, so this goes uphill. In the water, it will be a little bit more blurry, although sometimes you get an absolute picture-perfect reflection. It'll still be a little, you can get away with it being a little more blurry in the water, so. See now, if you'll notice, mine are drying kind of dark. I really need to pop a little bit more light on top of those. Wow. And that definitely could be something I do toward the end, but just to let you know, sometimes you really gotta really pop it on the tops there. Look, it's just drying darker and darker and darker. So, for those of you that know about gouache, especially art center designers, there's an old, you've all heard that watercolor is the hardest medium, and the joke is that that's because they haven't, they haven't tried gouache when they say that, because gouache not only acts like watercolor, but it also kind of acts like acrylics in a sense that it'll dry lighter sometimes and then it'll dry darker sometimes, depending on what the amounts of water you use with it and how thick you use it, and because it acts like watercolor sometimes and it dries lighter when you use it really thin, and then when you use it thick, like let's say acrylics, it'll dry even darker. So it's bizarre stuff, but once it's just like anything, once you get the hang of it, it'll be your friend. Okay, now we have a whole bunch of stuff here on the side. I'm seeing, I probably could have brought my water over into here a little bit more. I've got grasses, and he keeps it really sketchy over here. I like that. Real sketchy. Got a little dark in there. He's got some darks. Remember, darks at the base of everything. So he's got some darks in here. Darks over there. I would have done that earlier, but I wanted it to dry up a little bit. And then go ahead and take those down into your water. So in other words, everything you do up here, you do down here. You're basically making the same painting flopped. And seen cases where it's almost literally that way. Usually there's some little things. All right. And once this tacks up a little bit, you can go ahead and give yourself a couple little. He's doing it in kind of a blue. My goal here today isn't for you to make this photographic representation of his painting. It's just to understand the process he's going through, so then you learn to use white in your paintings. I notice all kinds of artists, really good transparent watercolor painters, use white. I found one online. I'll try to remember to give you his name. But amazing. English painter, really, and I think he's alive, I'm pretty sure he is. Really loose and simple. But I like the way he used white. Okay. So without any too much more detail, because we could put all the little stems in here and all those. I think that's just fine. Let's draw these little. I think they're lily pads or something on there. Now, if you notice, back here, they form a line. If you just let yourself look at the whole thing, take in the whole area, they form a line. See, they go into a line and it looks like a Z pattern. See? It goes into a Z pattern. Little Z patterns. Look for them. They get more spread out as they come toward you. See? In other words, back here, the Z pattern will be more like this. Right? And then as you get toward the foreground, it gets more like this. Because you're looking more down on this. Whoops, down. Whoops, down. On this. And up here, you're looking more across. Just like when we were doing the paths, right? It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same principle because it's all perspective. It's all, that's perspective in nature right there. Okay? That's sort of the way things lay down in perspective. And then if you look at the background, how we made this much lighter and bluer in the background, that's atmospheric perspective. A totally different kind of perspective, but there's perspective in everything. Okay, so let's take a little white. And they look to me to be a little bit on the blue side. And let's just touch those in. I can tell you already, I like the value of mine right now, but it's going to dry too much. It's going to dry quite a bit darker. So I'm going to pump that up. Kapow. If it feels too light, just give it a minute. Over here they won't show as much. I love how they look light on the dark, on the reflection of the dark tree, but they look a little darker over the light sky. That's a figure ground reversal? I don't know. I forgot the name of that. We'll just call it a reversal. Okay, I still don't even think I got those light enough. Wow, pow, pow, pow.
Rob?
Yeah.
I see the water having, in my picture, a little bit of maybe alizarin crimson or some kind of reddish color.
Yeah, there's a bunch of red in it over here and all these things. Yeah, I'm seeing red being reflected from the...
Okay, I just wanted to check on the picture.
There's definitely red in those trees, absolutely. Yeah. Sure, we certainly could come in with a lot of red accents. Just take your green. If you can look at my palette here, I'm adding this is where I add a little bit more red to the green. A little bit more. And you can just come to the areas where you see some more red areas, like in here, there. And you know, I don't mean red, I just mean redder than what's down there already.
Well, I see in the water, the actual water.
Yeah.
In my photo. Is that?
Well, the water is just a reflection of this. So the water will be a little bit red. It's going to reflect a lot of these reds into it, right down in here like this, and maybe even in the sky it might even have a little bit of red in it too. So I know it's hard to get over the fact that it's a mirror you're looking at. You're looking at a mirror of this. And you're right, it could be a little bit, honestly, a pond can be a little bit greener and redder than what you're looking at. Absolutely. I see that all the time. Yeah. I got a whole bunch of reflections on my, there we go. Yeah, a lot more red in here. Oh, and we definitely have those red accents right around here. Look, I thought I threw down those little lilies pretty light. And it looks like I didn't throw them down light enough. So sometimes you just got to really jump on those values. And yeah, there's some red stuff in there. The other thing that might be throwing you too is there's a lot of red sticks he put in there and things. Little red accents, and let's get on the painting. I feel like we've already done the painting. There's a neat little stick there, and you see the little reflection in there. All those can really charm a painting up. Yeah, I love it when you have a diagonal. See, he throws in the diagonal. He knows the trick. There's another diagonal there. And we can go on and on and on. These are quite blue, all of this stuff in here, but they're really nice little accents. That's a good study. I think it's a really good study. I think I'm gonna make a Christmas card out of that one. All right, there's my study. Well, it looks, I'm crossing my fingers, but it looks like my video stuff has settled down here. I wonder if it had something to do with everybody being on there. All the videos being on there or something. Oh well. Okay, so here's my, I'm gonna have to shoot this out now. Zoom out. I'm doing this vertical. So my top's there and my bottom is here. That's pretty good. So let me just give myself a what colors did Rob mix into the lily pads? I used white and ultramarine blue mostly. And then yeah, white, ultramarine blue, and I think there might have been some extra gook on my, it looks like there's a little red in there too. Really, if you get the value right, you're pretty much good there. You're never going to get his color perfect because we're working from a rig reduction. All right, I just want to know where my parameters are here. Okay, I'll try to keep that right. All right, so at this scale, it's a very vertical piece. When I picked this piece and I sent it to you, it wasn't until like a day later, or not day later, but many hours later, I looked at it and go, oh, yeah, it's a vertical. I was just looking at the way you used the white. I didn't even realize it was vertical. I'm not used to doing demos vertical, but hopefully this will work out fine. And again, find out about where your halfway point is. You can even do it up here if you like. It just helps to have a little marker there. And then look at your actual piece, and you'll notice if this is halfway, that the shoreline's a little above halfway. Something like that. And then if you come up above that shoreline, maybe the grass line is approximately this high. So there's where the grass is, and they kind of... So then that gives us where the trees are basically. We got this one coming off that way. This one shoots up. Am I drawing dark enough? And you certainly could just do this whole thing like this. Yeah, so if you measure from the tip of the tree down to about the shoreline, it's about the same. So your tip of your tree should come down about that far. And if you're pretty close, you're fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, because there's all kinds of things in water that can throw that off. But that's generally the rule. And you just flop it up. You can just think of this as being mirrored into this, so you're just kind of going almost. Let me show you this. If you were to look at it this way, like it's just being flopped. I know it's starting to look like one of those psychological cards they used to show you like in the 70s. Remember, like the what is this? Oh, they didn't do that to you? Okay, so here's that shoreline. I don't know, you're not seeing too much shoreline in here. I think because this goes really flat, it doesn't get too much reflection in here. Let's see. And then we have the opening here. We have our background lavender hills in the background, and then we actually do have some of this tree over here overlapping some of this stuff over here, so that's good to know. All right, we have this one coming up there and something like that. That's pretty good. And then just take your tree. As you can see, his tree isn't a perfect, it's not a perfect duplicate of what he's looking at. So as long as you're pretty good, I would argue you don't even necessarily have to draw all this out. But I'll put it in anyway. Okay. And then all this stuff over here, do we really need to draw out this corner over here too? No, but I'll throw it in anyway. I wouldn't probably actually draw it, and it didn't look like he did. In fact, I don't even see hardly any pencil lines. Zorn is known for drawing without a pencil, just with the brush. And so we've got kind of a clump here and a clump here, maybe something like that. We've got this bluish clump here with a nice dark. Sometimes I'll do that. See what I did? That just tells me I want a good dark right there, Rob. Make sure you get a good dark right there. And maybe a good one in there. I just signal. Any of those things can help. And again, you could come down a little far. You could judge for yourself. Say, okay, it's about like this far. That being reflected down into here. I know this part can be a little confusing. So guess what? Try doing this. Turn it on its side. It's a little easier to see. If you're using this shoreline as basically your center line, just kind of go, okay, well, we got that. Okay, that's repeating. That's repeating. And they don't have to be perfect. Just pretty close.
You could turn your reference on the side too then while you're doing that.
You could turn your reference on your side too while you're doing that. Oh, that was you. I thought that was a voice in my head. Glad you could join us, Michelle. Okay.
Yeah, great lesson today.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about it. Last week we did little pieces and parts. So we did paths and rocks and all kinds of little things. And now we're doing a master. Why not? Do whatever we want. And this little blue one up here, we'll throw that in there. Maybe this one back there. And that's about it. I think we're about ready. So that yellowy sky. Now, let's take the yellowy sky. I'm going to think ahead here, and let's just take it all the way down, okay? So I'm going to paint the sky and take it all the way down. So we've got lemon yellow, and I think it does turn a little bit yellowy green at the top, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. Going for the lemon yellow and a little white in there. A little bit of white in there. You know what it does? If you look at it, it kind of kills what do you call it? The saturation of the color. Take that all the way in over there. See, I'm really not even painting a sky here. I'm just painting a field of color. Little white in that. Go ahead and take it right over. It won't matter if you go right into your stuff there. And then just paint it right up into here too, the same way. A little lemon yellow, a little white, and then we're going to throw a little bit of blue toward the top. Take that lemon yellow right into your foliage. A little touch of white in there. And then let's add a little bit of ultramarine, a little touch of ultramarine blue. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the water. Just to give you a water lesson. And then a little bit up there too. Sometimes when I get a little hard line like this, I'll just add a little water to it. So it softens. Sometimes it's a little easier to cover up. And we got our little lavender area right there, so magenta, ultramarine blue, and white. The white gives you the misty color. It's gonna be too red, yeah. Yeah, the white makes it feel misty. That's why they used it. Just to get those beautiful atmospheres. Yeah, that's it. It's okay if it goes right into your foliage. You'll paint right over it. I think I'm going to cheat a little bit and put a little bit in my water. So that was a big area, right? Oops, that should be lighter and whiter. The white will kill your saturation too. Just remember that. See, complementary colors kill the saturation, the gray color, right? But white also will kill the saturation. Kind of washes out your color, right? But still kills the saturation. Okay, here's the way we're going to handle this. Let's take, we're going to handle this big area right here. Let's take Prussian blue and lemon yellow and how about some cad red, just a little bit of cad red in there. Let's see what that turns out to be. That got quite red on me, but I like it. It needs more Prussian. Don't be afraid to mix a lot of paint because you'll use it. Okay. Now he's got some sort of wet into wet marks around down to the bottom, but if you notice the tops of these trees up here are pretty crisp. So he had to be working over dry. We're working a little bit slower. I'm sure he worked pretty fast. The slower you work, you won't get those wet into wet edges. I can show you a couple of tricks, but it's okay. So now I can see that wow, it looks like he did use a little white back in there. Take a little white into that color. So we got Prussian blue, lemon yellow, cad red, and a little white. I like it. I'm just going to flick it up there. I don't really care about if it's not perfectly like his. There's a lot of red in that though. I'm just flicking it. And it's okay if you go over these little mounds of foliage in front of it, because you're going to opaque paint right over that. And all this, don't worry about it. Go right over it. If you want some of those wet edges up in here, just take a wet brush and dampen the edge like that. He's got kind of brown in there. I'll leave that up to you. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. So in other words, if you are a little slow and you're not working fast and you still want that beautiful edge, that's the way you get it, just like that. That's how he's getting that. He's a little browner. Just add a little bit of red to your color. And a couple of those. And now you won't get those stiff branches unless you're only when you're working over dry, like that. Only when you're working over dry. Just so you know. Now I'm just going to take that down here into the water. The same thing. And there's some browns in there. Just add some red to it. If you want that wet into wet edge, looks like he's getting in there. Just take water. So I'm using another brush and just use water. Not very much. That gives me that. An edge there. It looks like he might have come back in later. Yeah, I can see some drier marks on there. So he came back later and did that. Some nice little worms in the water. Okay, good enough. And what else? Wow. These ones in front of it here. Now I'm going to go with a lot of the same colors, but I'm going to just add more cad yellow to it. So Prussian blue, cad red, and cad yellow. Hit that down there. just going to do the same thing here. Prussian blue, cad red, cad yellow. Yeah. More cad yellow. I'm noticing this looks so much darker than I'm seeing in the photo or in the camera's image. That will dry lighter like this. And we could have just did it all wet into wet too. We've got the grass up here. Lemon yellow and Prussian and maybe some little bits of red here and there in it. Yeah, that comes all the way over, doesn't it? And all the way over here. So we are getting some into the water. But because it's flat, I don't know if it's really getting reflected into the water very much. Like that. Yeah, this is just the blue stuff. Right here. And the tree on the top has a lot of lemon yellow, but it looks like you put most of the lemon yellow, we coated it on there last. So believe it or not, we got to get kind of relatively dark. And look at the dry brushing he's using. So I'm using a dry brush. See? I'm just scrubbing the surface, like scrub it up, dub. Look at that. Scrub it. It's kind of nice to leave a little light spots like that. Let them happen. And then you can shoot a little branch through there later, like that or something. They're great. And the water looks like he's also dry brushing, but look at the water. He's pulling his strokes vertical, which makes a lot of sense. They do that. I had to guess too, his colors in the water look a little bluer. Full hair in there. I'll just leave them in there. Yeah, these look like wet into wet, whereas these ones he kept really solid. I don't know why. Probably because this tree is closer to us. Something like that. And there's definitely more variations of color in there. Could take your rag and just kind of give it a little variation. Probably could do the same up here, huh? And now we have all this stuff in the corner here. Doing a lot of dry brushing in there. to get those little greens right here to pop in front of the dark here, you have to have some. I mean, you might be able to do it with just straight lemon yellow, but I wouldn't be surprised if you use a little white in his paint. I probably shouldn't do that to the end, but I just want to show you that if I take a little white here, I dipped it right into my. Oof, I don't usually like to do that. You can cloud up your color. Right up into here, see? You want those really nice lights to come off. Add a little white into it, it'll cover it right, just like that. So we'll do a lot more of that later. In fact, we should probably do this in the end. But just hit a couple of dark things. I see that. I don't know what this dark stuff is in here, but that's kind of nice. Okay. Good enough. Odds and ends. Then we've got the sagey stuff here. We got to cover this white. And we got to bring it up into there. A little higher. So I'm going to take my green mixture I have here. I'm going to add a whole bunch of Prussian blue to that. You know, I definitely see some red in that. Wow. I wonder if he laid a foundation first. Let me see. It looks like he laid kind of a light warm gray down first and then came over it with the sage. Yep, that's what he did. So, a little warmer than that. I'm adding red to my Prussian. Yeah, that's fine. And just take that right down into the water. A little more red in there. Maybe a little yellow. Just take that into the color. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that in there. All right. All right. And I'm just going to soften that edge with water. So at least we're covered now. So if you notice, most of the white is used toward the end. When you're opaquing like light coming from the tops. So we have this hill, right? We have this mound of foliage here, and then we get these yellowy lights hitting the top of it. We'll do that opaquely. We'll do that one. We'll hit some blue, some bluer sagey colors down in here, bluer sagey in here. Oh, they're very similar. I probably should have laid that in a little bit more gray. Mine's drying pretty light too. I'm gonna hit mine a little bit darker. All right. Good foundation. Let's edge a few things out. So we got a pine there. Here's your kind of blue-green. I would add some Prussian to that. He's got little reds going in there too. They're really beautiful. Real sensitive. He's very, very good at subtle color. Now I do have this orange here. That's a perfect blend between cad red and cad yellow. It's kind of a cheap color, right? I mean, it's a really easy way to get, if you're looking to brown up a color. So I'll use that instead of using cad red and cad yellow, I'll just use the cad orange. Like I say, if you have your 2 reds, your 2 yellows, your 2 blues, go ahead and add anything else you want to it. So that's what I would call a crutch color. So not that I had to use it, but it's, you know, kind of gives me a little bit of a crutch. All right, so little, he's very sensitive around his edges. I mean, this is not one of his more worked out pieces. Although I really like it. I love his sketches. Sometimes he gets so clinical on things that it's nice to know he draws really well. I mean, that he can be spontaneous too. Okay. And you can definitely play with some of these edges toward the end. Now here's a little way to use white. So I have a tree right here. And I covered up the little hole in there, okay? Take a little white. So we're just making the sky color. Little white, a little bit of lemon, and come back here and with really and there's your little sky hole. Maybe you can come back in like that. Play with edges. So here's another way to use white. You can come back in. You'll see Sargent do this all the time too. Take a good look at them. You'll see it all over. Not in every piece though. Sometimes he did 100% pure transparent. Then, you know, later on I'll just throw stuff over it. So this is like shooting a little sky hole through there. Okay, I'm going to take some cad yellow. I'm going to add it to my Prussian blue with the red stuff in there. So maybe add a little bit of the cad red to it. Coming up with a color about like that. Add a little white to that. Try to keep my white off to the side. Now sometimes your colors might come out a little bit chalky and unsaturated. And that's okay. We can come back later and throw a little bit of yellow over it after it's dry and resaturate it. So usually when you're doing this, if you throw them on there, see how bright that is? If you throw them on there pretty bright stuff, could have gone up a little higher. Yeah. Don't be shy with it because you can always kick it back with a glaze on top. And just remember that the idea here isn't, it's not to make this photographic copy of what he's doing. It's just to understand his process. That's all. Just like with the Sargent one we did. Watch how beautiful this dries. It hasn't even started doing its little trick yet, which is just blows my mind why people wouldn't want that in their painting. You know, some of these pure watercolorist painters, I just don't know why they wouldn't want that. It's so beautiful watching what this does. I mean, to use the sort of opaque paints with the transparent paints in harmony with each other is so beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to take a lot of these colors right up into my tree. See how they're kind of highlighting things? And I think that I might have to go a little bit brighter. That's okay. But while that's on my brush, I'm going to come back down here into the bottom part here now and just kind of, I'm basically taking the top of this. I'm seeing the mirror reflection of it down into the water. And it is a little darker. So he did see that as quite a bit darker. If you happen to make them the same value, it's okay. We can always glaze it down. So I went a little bit lighter on mine. He loves to do this vertical thing like this, see? I definitely see that in water quite a bit. It'll distort. I'm sure some scientist knows the exact reason why that is. I don't. It's interesting though. Okay, and we want to pull, let's try this blue stuff in here now. We're going to switch to the sagey blue. I never hit this dark behind here yet, so let's hit that first. And then we'll take it into the water. I think Prussian blue and cad red. I use that combination quite a bit. Prussian blue and magenta will give you a really nice dark too. And I'm just going to pull it right behind here, right into my, in a dry brush manner, right behind there. There's some down in here too, right behind this. Dry brush that in there. And right behind all this. Some little darks in here. Remember, we're going to bring that right down into the water. This is a copy of that. And this one gets right down here. And then these back here, this stuff. This one right here is pretty dark. All the way back down here. It looks like he's pulling those strokes downward. I'm using a very dry brush too, just so you know. What a master of dry brush he is. I don't see a whole lot of glazing. I mean, he is the master of glazing too, just so you know. Some of these branches in the foreground are. Now you're looking at technique par excellence. I mean, I wouldn't say that. Here's the interesting thing is, like, so Winslow Homer and some of these other Americans at the time were really shooting for something different. They saw these kinds of things, and they, you know, if you look at Winslow Homer, he could do it, but he was going for something different. if you look much more a celebration of the mark and the stroke. And these are very much in that manner too, but a little bit more on the representational side, whereas, you know, if you look, I mean, man, Homer gets loose on those things sometimes. Wow. Amazing. Got a dark at the base of the tree here. I'm going to turn around and down here. Just throw it in the water. A little bit of something down here at the shore too. Something red in there. We got something down in here. In there. In there. And I'll do the same thing. In here. Whoops, how did that get there? I'll have to make that into a branch or something. Or let's see. Just take it right out. Okay. We can mess with these edges as much as you like. And so let's go ahead and take Prussian blue and white. Prussian blue, white. And then there's some little reds, little cad reds happening in there occasionally. Brown things, maybe add a little bit of yellow to that too. They're not pure blue, but they are very blue, those greens. And again, I'm going to spread my brush apart like that. You come in here and see, without this dark, the bush won't pop. Now, I think I got mine actually too dry. Let's try this. Yeah. It wasn't coming off my brush. I'm still a little too dry. There we go. There we go. Some of these too. Mine's very blue. All right, so I just add a little bit more cad yellow to it. That might be a little too much. We'll see. It's all right. So remember, the light's coming from the top, and it gradates a little bit darker as it gets toward the base, right? So let's do the same on these. A little bit lighter here toward the top. And you know, if you like, you can take your strokes and pull them down like that. I hope you guys aren't hearing all that. blowers out there and everybody's. And that should dry quite a bit darker. Yeah. And I can sit here and keep tweaking those colors until I get it right. But I think that looks pretty good. Okay. Now, very similar to this color I'm using right here, but I'm going to go much brighter, a whole lot more white. So I'm going to need to squeeze out more white here. I hate putting white out on my watercolor palette, but if you put it out on your palette, just be careful, make sure you clean it off really good. And let's make ourselves like a big soupy glop of, I mean, that color to me, those lilies look to be a little on the kind of green blue, almost sagey color. It looks very much like the sage color we made over here, but lighter. So I'm going to use Prussian blue, just a touch of cad red, a little bit of cad yellow, and you want this, I mean, it's blue. There we go. And make yourself a big soupy kind of pile of paint here. And I see all these little grays around here. I add it all in there. I give myself, makes myself little excuses of color. See, this is why I don't clean my palette. Little red over there. Why do I take it over here? Because I don't want to dip it into my good stuff. Little redder stuff. Okay. Let's see if that's bright enough. That's pretty bright, but I think it's going to dry. I think it's not going to be bright enough. Adding more white to it. See, my problem is I mixed the color I saw. In gouache, what you have to do is predict the color you're going to see, because it's going to dry, darker. So much lighter, and this still might not be bright enough. We'll see. And they're very flat up here toward the shoreline. He's got some darks up there I forgot to put in too. See, there's so many lilies back here. And they're so flat because they, because you're looking across them, you just see clumps. Not really individual lilies very much. Maybe one or two like that. Not too much. And then our line gets a little more diagonal in there. And then we have this one over here, which gets more diagonal. See, it almost forms like a Z. And you certainly could change that color as you go. I notice it gets yellower and sometimes it gets redder, like these ones down here. So go ahead and change that color. It's not one perfect color. I mean, in this case, just do what you want. And there's that Z pattern, kind of comes over to this side. Take them right out. You get a couple. Go right over the white part of the water. Way back here. You get yellower back here. All right, a few of these. So if your little Z patterns get too literal, like mine are kind of getting literal, just break them up a little bit. Just add a few along the edges like this. Just kind of break it up. Very nice. It looks like I didn't quite get bright enough. So on some of these in the background, I'm going to really load that up and catch a couple highlights. Not everywhere, just here and there. See, mine are drying so dark that they're just running into the same value of the as the tree here. Really add that white. You want to smack it. Good enough. I didn't even put my little branch down here into the water. That might be something I might do later. It's mostly accents now. Still don't even think I got bright enough. Wow. Now sometimes I'll go ahead and make it too bright, and then I'll glaze. After it's totally, see, I'll do that. When it's totally dry, then I'll take a color, like I'm seeing sort of a yellowy blue, like a very faint green or something like that over this. I might take a little bit of a glaze over that after it's dry. Let me hit a couple of those and maybe toward the end I'll just only have a few minutes. Let's hit some of these little sticks and things off to the side. There's not a whole lot of white, although, yeah, we did use some white on these little guys here, didn't we? So again, white. Got the cad. Now the cad red, the cad yellow on its own is pretty opaque. Add a touch of white to it. And I need to add a little more water to that because it's just not flowing. There we go. A couple of those, just here and there. If I see something like maybe I need a little more yellow in here, I might just dry brush a little something in there. It's that time in the painting when you're just accenting and edging things. Since I have it on my brush, I'm seeing a lot back here in this tree. A little more opacities in that tree. So I'm gonna hit a little bit of white, and I think it looks like more like lemon yellow. A little lemon yellow. Hit some of those. Ooh, that's bright. Break some of those up a little bit. And you can see where he's just hitting them all over the place. So, and we won't have time to hit all of these, but it's a pretty wonderful technique. And, lots of artists use this. I mean, lots of artists that people look up to. Not only today, but I mean, even back in, let's say Turner would do this, All kinds of artists would do this, so. And I can go around now, I can see my darks here dried a little bit on the, my lights here dried a little bit on the dark side, so. You just keep coming back and hitting those. Now that's really jumpy. I'll let that dry and see how that is. And if it's too light, then I'll take a little bit of that Prussian blue or whatever and just hit a little bit of a glaze on it. Just on the tops. Some of that up here on the shore. I think there's some dark on the shore. I forget. Little values here and there I forgot to hit in. Oh yeah, we were going to hit some of these little, what is it? Looks like a palm frond or some sort of grass right here. So that's a glaze because he's using so much water in it. You can see through it. It's kind of transparent. I go bluer than that, so that's just Prussian. I show those. See how I zigzag my my little grassy edges there? Because if you do this and you go, wah, oops, I'm sorry. If you go like this, and then you go like this, it just doesn't look natural. They kind of break and do all that natural stuff. It looks like it threw a few little reflections into the water, so go ahead and hit a few of those in there. You could even, whatever. It's got a couple of little reds going on around too. Got some reddish little sticky things kind of going like that, and maybe. So what I love to do is kind of go like this, like that. Just tickle the edge, like it's hitting little ripples or something like that. It's all fun. Maybe over here he has one going this way. Same deal. Oops. Just leave it. Some reds along here, etc. I think these are like indications of shadows and things underneath the lilies. I could go lighter with these. Wow. So get used to that. That gouache can dry dark on you. Isn't that weird? Sure does. Things like that. And I'll just sign this Zorn. I think his signature looks like this. No. Don't start me on the forgery stuff. You know, that reminds me, when I first got, I have a brother who's sort of a criminal. And I should have known better, but when I first got, when digital printers came in the early 90s, he said, let me ask you, do you think you could make a $20 bill? Just, we were just messing around with it. I said, I mean, he goes, do you think you could copy this $20 bill and get it to come out as good as a regular $20 bill? And I said, well, I don't know, let me try. And so I really got into it. And I don't know why, but I really got into it. Because I don't know, I'm one of these people that just has to know. And I wasn't thinking about that he would use it. I was just thinking about making it. And I tried to get that forgery as good as I could. And I had some paper that was very close to $1, the kind of paper that they use in $1. So I printed it on it. And we were blown away about how close it was to a regular dollar. It was just a print. And he called me up like a week later, and he goes, I just want to let you know I used it in a bar, and it worked. Yeah, I guess he paid some waitress a $20 bill, and he goes, and it worked. I said, you used that? I couldn't believe he used it. So last time, and don't be ever asking me to do that again. But yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing would surprise me with him. Oh well. We've all got one in the family, right? Okay. And you know, like I said, you can come back and throw a little stuff over here and close up some of these gaps, and there's all kinds of little things you can do. Little branches and things you can throw in over little sky areas right there. Little things like that. Here too. We could even take this little pretty fun. And you just learned how to use white in a painting. See, it didn't really... Oh yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to show you. Let's say, now that it's dry, maybe we didn't like the color, or maybe it was too bright. You can just take a glaze, and let's say I want it in the kind of blue-green family. Just take a glaze, like that. Try not to do it more than once. Like that. See, I just took the edge off that. Kick the color back. If I hit this again, let's see. Yeah. If you keep hitting it, it'll just turn into mush. But if you just hit it once like that, it'll behave. So anyway, so sometimes what I'll do is I'll hit these a little too bright, and then I'll come back and, let's say, hit a little glaze on there like that. Or maybe I want a little yellow in there, or, you know, a little bit of warmth in there like that or something, you know. So by hitting a little light, you kind of, what's the word? Pre-noting? Premising? The fact that you're going to come back later and hit again another color over the top. So how about all that white we used in there? Now we're going to go to watercolor jail for this.
Rob, this is Caroline. I have a question.
Yeah.
Your water looks like a mirror. It looks so good. And with all the whites that you have added, it just feels really good and like water. And I'm wondering if one of the main reasons for that is that you're blurring all the edges, as opposed to up there, there's nothing blurred, but in the water, it's blurred. Is that the idea, to make it look like water?
Yeah, if you'll notice, his edges are pretty blurred.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did what he was doing. He does have some edges in there, though. I can see some hard edges in his waters, but yeah, it's mostly kind of blurry. This is pretty. He blurred this wet into wet, whereas he blurred this one dry brushy.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. These lilies I put with very hard edges. I just kind of cut them in there, and that may have something to do with it. Yeah.
Okay.
I am also noting that my painting is not nearly this contrasty. What I'm seeing on my screen isn't what I'm actually looking at, and that's something I can't totally control that. I have a lot more subtlety up in here. I can't see very much subtlety up into. Let me see. If I. Yeah, but even in the dark, the dark area, there's a lot more subtlety. So I'm getting more contrast, and that might have something to do with it as well. So.
One more question. I did not do the blurring as you have done it, and mine kind of looks a copy of what I have up there. So my reflection in the water looks exactly like what I have on the land, supposedly. So
I would just take a little water along your edge here and just blur it. Just take a little water, come in and blur that, and then if you throw some choppy stuff over the top, it'll look great. So don't worry that you kind of smush it and make it mushy. Don't worry about it, because once you hit the hard edge lilies on top of it, it'll look great. All right. Let's save those questions for when we do your piece. So when we look at your piece, okay? And let's get those pictures of your paintings in, everybody.
How do you do that, Rob?
Just take a picture of your painting and send it to me. Who am I speaking with?
That was Judy. I'm going to send it to
you. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And try to take it to where it comes out so I don't have to rotate it. Now, that might take you a couple of tries. Sometimes it does. It depends on which camera you're using, and sometimes people get it right on the first try, but
it's safe to crop the picture that you take, and then that usually comes to you upright.
Okay.
So on your phone, crop the picture.
All right. Okay.
I just sent that. Did it come through?
Hold on. Let's see. Let me see here. Not yet, but it will. Is that Judy? Let's see, Judy. Yep, it came out great, Judy.
Thanks.
All right. Jane. Are you there, Jane? Are you muted, Jane?
No, I'm not. Now, can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. what if I just do it all? I mean, I can do it all transparent.
Well, you know,
So anyway,
it's wonderful
Yeah,
what you did, and the white just was perfect. I just don't happen to have any of that with me either.
yeah.
I don't have a cad yellow. I don't have a cow red. I don't,
Okay.
So I've done with what I could, and the second, I mean, I've added already dark to make them pop more, but it's a great lesson. Just
Yeah, actually, I don't have much problem with it's not your colors, it's the values.
right.
Yeah, it's
And
the
I've
values.
changed that now. All of the left side is much darker. In fact, I wiped out some of the sunlight on the water moving it down, and I dried it off, and I put more yellow to match the sky. I've changed it a lot, and
Yeah,
it's not bad, but
not bad.
it was wonderful watching you, and thank you for this lesson.
Thank you, Jude.
I took a gouache class once.
Yeah?
It was so opposite of watercolor. It was really confusing to me.
So what we're doing here is a mixture between watercolor and gouache, using them both for their purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll do more.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we're going off to. Hey, Alice. Well, a lot of color in there, Alice. Ooh, look at that sky. You went pinker with your sky. Let me see. And I forgot we got this. You there, Alice? You muted? So somebody needs to mute themselves, I think. Is Alice there? Maybe I'm not getting her.
Yes, I'm here.
There you are. Okay. So nice. Look at this little burst of light you have right here, kind of coming down the center. That's interesting. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I saw some kind of warm red somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know where I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
And this time I painted it without drawing. I wanted to be as loose as I could.
Yeah.
So I didn't draw it in first. I just went for it.
Good for you. Wow, fun. And these are your opaques down here. Did you put some white in the sky?
In the sky? No.
Not
I
too
put
much.
whites for the lily.
Down here and then in here. Good.
Oh, I use white in the water, yes.
Yeah. Well, good. What did you think? Kind of weird, huh?
It was weird. The lily pads, I had a hard time because I listened to when you said in the further away they look more flat, so I had to use.
Yeah. You got it.
To make them flatter,
You got it.
So.
Yeah, back here they are looking flat. These are flattening down, and these are getting. Here's what I want to use. See, these are flattening. It's like this, and then as we get toward, see how that flattens as it gets toward that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because these are quite a bit further away, way up here. So.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, looking good. I like this. Nice piece, nice values, nice colors. As you can see, I'm not really. It's not about doing this perfect rendition of what Zorn did. It's just learning his way of doing it, and then incorporating that in your work. That's all. So not being afraid to use white and learning how to use it where it doesn't kill your watercolor. And That's the big problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's the big problem that they have in these, that I would say more advanced painters have. They have a problem with people making these paintings that really aren't really water. They're not really celebrating the transparency quality of watercolor anymore. Even though they have all of these, they have so much white in the paint that it clouds everything up, and it really just turns into a gouache painting, which really isn't a watercolor painting anymore. But you have a lot of transparencies going on here. I mean, you got that lot. I mean, this is pretty much all back here. Looks like it's all transparent. So this is the watercolor quality right here that they're talking about. And when artists don't use it, I hate to say it correctly, but when you don't use the gouache in your painting right, it clouds the whole painting up, and then you get a gouache painting. It's not really a watercolor painting anymore. So that's what they're talking about. And I think if we used it the way you're using it here, which is right, then I don't think people have a problem with it really. Now you do get into these transparent watercolor societies, and I understand their goal is to really keep it transparent so people don't lose this idea. But just doing a regular watercolor, doesn't have to be 100% transparent. It can be like this, and I can show you so many masters who use white. But you're getting a lot of color. Now, did you lay down some white and then glaze back over it?
So the bushes, on the left that you're showing, I mixed it at first, and then it was still not bright enough, so I decided to glaze it with more white.
Yeah.
But transparent. I just kept glazing it more and more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mixed up some colors. I glazed some colors. I don't know. I tried to use dry brush.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, looks good.
So I like it.
I do too. You should like that. It's a nice one. Thank you. All right.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
All right, Claire.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. All right. Nice values, nice and dark back here. So that's what's making your lilies pop.
Yeah.
Nice and dark.
It's very hard for me to get the color of the lily dark enough on the, other part, that part.
On the white, yeah.
Yeah. I saw you got it. What was the color that you were mixing with your white?
It's the same color you're using. I'm just not adding as much white. I'm probably adding more water to it, actually.
Oh, okay.
And then it dried a little bit darker on me. And
I couldn't get it to show up on the white part.
Yeah. So that means you just need just scale that. Just add a little bit more of your color with less white in it and a little more water.
Okay.
You'll see. It'll go over that.
Okay.
And foreground looks great. Looks like you got the idea. Pretty nice. Did you use? Let's see.
I used ultramarine blue with a little bit of white and a little bit of magenta.
Yeah.
And
so what you can do is take a little white stuff up and over these areas. Looks like you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, a little bit.
Maybe a little thicker though.
Okay.
A little thicker with, or a little more dry.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, you get it a little bit too white. And you're like, oh no, that's a little too white. Darn, I messed up. You didn't mess up, okay? What you do is you just come back with that sagey color right back over it, and you can knock it right back.
Well, what color do you mix with white to get that sage? I mean, mine doesn't look like sage, I don't think.
I used Prussian blue, white, and a little bit of cad red.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was using ultramarine, so maybe that was what the problem was.
You can get it with ultramarine too. The ultramarine already has red in it, so I don't know. Anyway, you can always hit these a little too bright and then come back and glaze them. See, I'm putting a little glaze over here too. You can glaze those.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of using too much white. That goes for everybody. Let's see. Otherwise, I think you got everything correct. We have a lot of sharp edges, so if you wanted to soften some of these edges, even now, you can come back, add a little water to these.
Okay.
And maybe down here too. And then use a stiffer brush and just pick up the color you have, and you wouldn't believe it. It'll work.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it looks great. I can see a little bit more dark in this tree here. A little bit more dark. I think it's good. That's one of the reasons why these lights here don't pop as much as these do, because of the dark background.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And I don't know, it was really a fun painting. I have all of Zorn's books, and I have never seen anything in his.
This has really got everything going for it. I just think that, like in most watercolors, it'll dry light on you. And you could have maybe used, let's see, some darks down in your water. Some of these dark, maybe even darker up here.
Okay.
But some of these, I could have seen some dark, and you could still do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's over or anything. Oh, by the way, that's one thing about a painting with white in it. It's easier to correct, much more forgiving. So just so you know, you can come back, you can paint right over these whites. Don't be afraid to do that, and then come right back over with the lilies, right back over. It'll work.
Okay.
So if you want to take a breather and then come back into it another time. No problem. But I'd really smack those darker. I think this all needs to go a little darker. Not as dark as this, but a little bit darker. It's mostly darks, and that's probably the number one most common problem in a watercolor is nailing the darks. So,
okay.
Let's see what else. Yeah, some deep things at the base of some of these, possibly. If you want to come over the tops of these with a little bit more white, these sort of bluer, sagier areas in here. I'd hit those, dry brushes, and if you happen to hit them a little bit too bright, let me see what color this is. I don't have a perfect sage color, but you can always glaze back into it. So don't be afraid to hit that really nice and bright.
Okay.
So it pops. About it. I can see a little bit more darker values in your foreground here. Let's see. Whoops. Some deeper greens.
Okay.
Yeah, some of those. There.
Okay.
That's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You wouldn't believe what you can repair with white. I mean, not even repair job here. It's just adding. It's more in that you're like 3/4 finished.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Judy. All right. Nice work. I like your real spontaneous approach here. Very nice.
Thank you. I think my grass area is too thick. I'm gonna bring that down a little.
Oh, you mean too wide here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just take a little. Really easy to do. Take this color you mixed.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say it's something like this, and just maybe bring it back into it like that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like this clump maybe is in front of the other clump, which is in front of the other clump. Yeah, break some of that down. Maybe hit a little bit of dark. A little bit of something dark at the base.
Mm-hmm.
And this is great. This is great.
It was fun.
And the water's great. You got the whole idea. I mean, yeah. You got your opaques down there, very nice. I mean, you did everything with a lot of style to boot here. You got a lot of brush strokes, a lot of I really like the water right in here. This is great. Great handling.
It was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. A lot of nice reds in there too. This is working. Okay. Love the sky. Look at the red, yellow, and blue in the sky, everybody. Red, yellow, blue. Just makes it more interesting, that's all. When you have red, yellow, and blue in a color field, you'll hear me say that probably every day. All right, Caroline. Wow. You do have a style, Caroline. I see it in your... Caroline has showed me some of her other work too, and you just work in these colors. And your way of working is very much... your sky looks great. Great, great, great. Let's see. Now, I might have gone a little bit darker in your water. Can you hear me, Caroline?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a little darker in the water. Whoops. A little darker. We'll give your lily something to pop off. needs a little more contrast. So then when you come back with the whiter lilies, let's try this. You know?
Yeah, I was thinking of that, but for some reason my colors are not very dark because they're all transparent.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if I can do a glaze over what I have now, maybe with something that is not so transparent.
Sure. Sure, you can use what you have as just a foundation and then just keep going over it. Absolutely. Yeah, it works.
And then add the white lilies.
Yeah. Some of those, just cut it back over. I think it's a little bluer than that, but oh well. I don't have the right color. Something like that, maybe. So it's only value. Your handling of the paint is just fine, right? And the more water you add to the white, it gets really translucent. Like it looks like you have in here, in this area, really kind of translucent. Let me see here. Ooh, yours looks really good up close. Are you working on hot press paper?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Look
just
at all these little puddles. Those are great.
I have never used gouache. Would you use gouache as you were using the opaques with white?
No, I was only using white. I didn't use any gouache. All I used was white, and I just mixed it with my watercolor.
Right, but if you were to use gouache, would you use it the same way?
You can mix white into your gouache. The gouache itself, it has a little chalk in it, so it's very opaque.
Okay.
So you don't have to mix white with it, but you can.
I've never used it. That's why I'm kind of curious. I have it, but I've never used it.
You know, I wouldn't even mind showing you all how to use gouache and make it look almost exactly like a watercolor. You wouldn't even know. You can use it.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, but that would require everybody having gouache. So.
Rob.
Yeah.
Didn't you use Winsor Newton designer gouache, permanent white? I thought that's what you got out.
Yeah, that's all I used. Yeah.
That is gouache, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that was the only gouache I used was the white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have a whole bunch of gouache here. These colors, here's a bunch. All these colors are very opaque. So, yeah, they're very, very opaque. And you can thin them out and use them just like watercolor, and you wouldn't even know. It would look. I could do this exact painting. You wouldn't even know. So it's funny. Anyway.
And do you mix them the same way you mix other watercolors?
If you use them really thin, like watercolor, with a lot of water, they act just like watercolor.
Okay.
They do. They might, now if you add white to it, it might get a little more cloudy here and there, but you can use them just like watercolor. Yeah, I should give you a demo on that someday. Yeah. So it's not only what we paint, but it's the technique we're painting, and the technique you're painting can totally change the look of your whole painting. All right, so yeah, I just said we needed more value probably in here, and then lighter lilies and such. And these are your colors. Wow, nice. So you won't lose your style. You transfer it into another medium. You might even want to try your style in oil, just to see how you can make that look. You wouldn't believe it.
I used to do oil many decades ago, but the colors that I'm using are St. Petersburg White Knights, which I like, but their names are different, some of them, and I don't know how to translate them into more common.
What is that, Russian?
Yeah.
I've never used that. Wow, I've never used it.
They're extremely transparent. I really like them.
Yeah.
But their names, sometimes I don't know how to interpret.
Well, what name brand of paper are you using?
Well, this is just a regular, what is it? Stratford?
Oh, okay. Well, that's not the. Now that's not cotton paper, is it?
No, I don't know what it is.
You'll get different results if you work on cotton paper.
Yeah, the picture that I sent you, I'm going to be doing it on cotton paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what this Strathmore paper is.
It's not bad quality, but it's not the best quality. It's got wood in it, so it's a lesser quality. It just doesn't absorb right. It's hard to explain, but you'll see the difference.
Yeah, I have bought so much of it. Now I'm stuck with it.
Oh, well, use it for sketching paper. That's what I use it for. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And there's Gina. Are you working in acrylics?
Yeah, so this has very little to do with that painting, as you can see.
I know.
And also the colors are much brighter in this than they are actually in my painting.
Yeah.
The
I want to do this with your painting. Look at that. Woo! Palette knife, brush. Look at that. Look at that juicy stroke right there. Oh my gosh. I want to put that on a cone and eat it. Yeah, that's yummy. I mean, I like everything about this painting. You know what? Sometimes though, if I have, let's say, a line, this line right here, I might break that up with something, like some sticks or something. I don't know. Yeah. So sometimes I'll throw in
just some little plantish looking stuff.
Yeah, just a couple of little breaks here and there. Maybe even over here too. And so that's about all. I mean, otherwise this is just a juicy, wonderful painting.
There's actually a whole other painting under here that I did vertically and I didn't like it, so I went sideways and started over.
Oh, so it goes vertically. I see. Yeah. Oh.
Well, I mean, you can't see the other painting. I just painted over it, but
I see it. It's right there.
Yeah, right.
Look at that stroke. Ooh, that's delicious. I love it when you have a stroke that goes. Really does feel something the palette knife will give you too. All right, that was really nice to look at. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's see what we got here. There's Gina. Let's go to Debbie. All right, Debbie. Oh, you seem to have this down.
Well,
I like the way you handled that.
thank you. Yeah, I didn't really copy at all the image. I just was trying to get the style of it.
Right, just the technique, right? And you got it. That's how he's doing it. Just adding white to your color. So not only did we do it opaquely on top of stuff, but we also mixed the white right into, especially the sky, and you get wonderful little, especially you really caught it here. Let's see. Oops. I got this right here. It feels distant.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and so you got a little bit of white mixing into it, looks like, possibly. I mean, you can do the same thing by just fading water into the paper. It'll do that, wet into wet, but the white does something else. It will give you that misty quality. So it's something to think about.
This was really fun, Rob. I really, really enjoyed doing this.
Oh, good. It basically it just adds another tool you can use in your tool chest. That's all. Yeah, but you got it. I mean, look at the way she handled the water, just so loose. And then now you come back over with some of these strokes, and it just kind of validates it. It just makes it feel reflective. I don't know why that is, but on these edges, if you keep these edges a little bit sharper like you did in here,
Yeah.
you'll get a little bit more of that idea.
Well, I'll see if I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Did you use white in all of your colors, or some of them without white? Mostly it's where you can see the white, obviously. Otherwise, I was not using white. Do you know what I mean?
This looks like it's all transparent watercolor. Yeah. And underneath here, it looks like it's all transparent watercolor. But over the tops, like this is opaque. Yeah. Maybe it mixed a little white into the sky here.
I'm not even sure I did, to be honest. Yeah. I can't tell. Yeah. I think some of it's the white of the paper.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Ethel. So that's the technique right there. She's got those semi-opaque. There you go.
I don't think my water looks like water, but I did work on it a little more. I made the lily pads a little whiter.
Yeah. One thing that'll help is see how your strokes are kind of going uphill.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Just occasionally throw one in this level.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do, and I think something's going on. I think I have my paper crooked.
Oh.
So it looks right to my eye until I look at it.
I have totally done that. Yes, I can. Yes, I understand that one. Yeah, so, no, I mean, I do that in paintings too, and what I'll do is I'll just counter. Every once in a while, I'll come back with I got a really big...
Oh, yeah, that helps. That definitely helps.
Just a couple of, horizontal ones.
Yeah, because I think even my little hill is downhill.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Yeah.
If you take a little bit of this in front of that, this bush.
Uh-huh.
Just take this bush, counter that a little bit. It'll level that out.
Okay.
I do that in every painting. Now, are you using white up in here? Let's see. Yeah, a little bit of opacity up in there.
Very little, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of it.
So, don't be afraid to get really, really opaque up in there.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't mind getting kind of really opaque, and then coming back and with a sagey color, like, I don't know, let's see, like...
Yeah.
And you could glaze a sagey color over that. And if that's not enough, then you can do it again and again until you get the right value you like.
Okay, I think I'll do that.
I oftentimes would, especially when I was doing portraits, I would do highlights on people's faces way too bright, and then I'd knock it back. So.
Oh yeah, that does help.
Oh, okay, good. That's about the rest. That's about. I mean, you know. Let's see. Everything else is just fine. Good values. Cool. You're pretty much always good with your values. I mean.
Really?
And this is just a technique. There you go. You try using less water.
Yeah, that's my other thing. I get too much water in there.
I mean, with the whites. Yeah. Because the whites will just turn into a cloudy, like a cloudy watercolor rather than a more opaque color.
Ah, okay.
Alrighty.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. And Betsy. That pops. Okay.
I struggled. I really didn't like doing this. I really, really struggled, and I don't know why.
Well, is it the first time you've done it?
No. I've done this painting, yeah.
I mean, it's the first time you've used white in this way?
Yeah, I guess so. I hadn't thought about it that way. I mean, I've done acrylics a long time ago, but I've never added white to watercolor. Played with it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to give it some. It's just a way to use white. You can use it to correct things in a painting. You can use it to accent things in a painting. So it's just another tool to add to your tool chest. And so, you know, when you need to in certain paintings, you can use it. Just certainly don't have to, but it's another thing, another way to do it. So, yeah. Now I think your whites on here, over here, are a little bit bright. So what you can do is just take a glaze of watercolor over them like that, and just glaze them down a little bit. And then over here, where they're a little too light over the water, you can just take that glaze, you know, right over that. Maybe it's a little bluer than that or something, but
yeah.
You know. But so I think that lily color is a little like mine's. I can notice on my values. I think my lilies are a little dark over my water. So I'll come back and lighten them up. You know, it's just a value thing. In other words, that's all.
You know, I was trying to follow you on this, and I couldn't. I just got lost. I really got lost on this, and I didn't enjoy it. So I'm not sure why. It's very frustrating.
It looks like this over here on the right side could be a little darker.
Mm-hmm.
Just come back in with some darker stuff in here. Take it right down into your water.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe redder stuff too in once in a while. And then cut your lighter strokes right over the top.
Uh-huh.
These a little bit lighter, you know, right over.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. It's mostly value. You know, value will always get away from you. Value's one of the toughest things.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's why they say it's number 2 toughest thing. Shape's number 1. But once you get your shapes down, I don't have any problem with your shapes. Value is number 2. Value is tough. They say value is more of a problem than color.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, just so you know, but see now you can come back in and hint little colors in here. Like let's say this white over here, you can come back into the bottom of it. Let's say, and give it a little bit of something dark in the base. Maybe in the base of this. You can glaze right over the white. Just treat it like paper.
Okay.
Like think of especially when you brought it this bright. Think of it like you're working on paper. You're just working on paper. And then the more you go over it, the more it'll pick up the white, and now you're mixing the color, so it'll turn kind of mushy on you. So better to hit it with a hairdryer or leave it and let it dry for a minute before you go back over it. Other than that, I think we're doing pretty good. Yeah. Clean up this part here and there. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
There's Daryl. Wow. I did take those out, right? Okay. Wow. Your blues are blue.
Yeah, those came out brighter than it dried brighter. I'm going to take those down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
Right.
That's what you do. You just glaze it down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute those down or bring the greens back up. Kind of take those down a little bit.
Yeah. agree with that. And I think Dan made a good observation of there being sort of redder colors around. Look for the, not red, but I mean, you know, little warmths. I see you got them in the foreground here really nice. Here and there, hit a few little warms where you might see little areas of warm, maybe in your tree. Now, if you're going to have your tree this yellow, then I might throw some of that yellow down into the water.
Okay. Yeah, they should be there.
Yeah. Little more.
It is reflection, yeah.
Or the other idea is to take a little, maybe make your tree a little bit darker. Maybe a little bit of both.
I'm looking at the picture. I'm seeing a little brown and reddish brown in the foreground. Yeah. I don't know what that is. But
it's probably there. So all I did was hit a little bit darker in there. That's all. Hello. So maybe a little bit darker at the base of these two.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill those a little bit and put some more green there. Those dried too bright. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit darker in the corner.
I don't know about the little water streaks there. Maybe those dried darker than water there.
Mine dried pretty dark too.
It wasn't as bright as the aqua up above there, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it, huh? I can make it whiter. But...
Yeah, if it bugs you, maybe hit a little highlight on the top. Yeah, a little lighter on the top, maybe with a little bit of something. Let's see.
Okay, some more white in the water then on those.
If it bugs you, it doesn't really bug me, so it's up to you. I can see if they get a little dark on you. I noticed mine got a little dark, so I actually don't mind it though. So it's kind of your call. You understand the technique, and that's all I care about. You got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Toby. Clear. All right. Wow, look at all this opaque. Wow, I've never seen you do anything opaque.
Oh.
Your stuff is very transparent. What was that noise for?
Yeah, well, I just want to let you know, what I was using my white is the titanium watercolor white. That's all I had. So I don't know if that makes sense, but...
It should have worked, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should work. I mean, it looks like it's working to me. I mean, you're getting a lot of more cloudy area. Yeah, I can see right here you built that up. That's exactly it. Yeah. Yep. That's what you want to do. Nice. Look at these lights, and these are your lilies in the water. Now, are these lights? Is this light right here the same color as you're using here?
It is.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
You can look at that light up there and that dark down here.
Mm-hmm. I did go back over some of them with a lighter, little bit of to lighten it. So, yeah. but some are the same. Mm-hmm.
This looks really pretty right here in the foreground. You kind of have, looks like you mixed white in your paint.
The yellow, the underwash there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did. I started using the white through. Yeah. That's what we were supposed to do. Yeah.
Real pretty.
Thank you.
Look at that! Look at that fiery dark you put in the top. Wow, you just nailed that. Kapow.
Yeah, I was happy with that dark.
Yeah. That's called smack in the dark. Smackalicious right there. I can see you maybe even bring in, because this right here looks like this, right?
Yes.
So I could see you coming back with something like this, nice and dark.
A little darker down there. Mm-hmm.
If you like. Now, I kind of like this area quite a bit, so, I mean, artistically, I like it. So, you know, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I love these. I love this kind of thing where you just kind of chop your little values in there. I call that overstating the dark, or I call it stark darks.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I like it. I love it because you can see the individual little strokes. Sometimes, like in mine, where my values get so close together, you can't see that as much. So you're making a bigger deal out of the stroke.
Yeah.
Anyway, makes for a nice watercolor.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I got no problems with this.
Great.
Beautiful piece. I like that you came in with this aqua color here, and then is it already kind of opaque, this aqua color?
You know, I think I added, I just kept working that color, trying to get that sagey, and then it was that blue, and I think the blue you just did, I don't know, there was a lot of white in that, but I like it. I think it's kind of fun, you know.
Yeah. It's got a quality to it. It's not always exactly the same as watercolor, but it kind of moves you away. It kind of expands your range. So good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much.
And that's the whole idea of this. Remember, this isn't necessarily a watercolor class. It's just it's just a painting class. Whoops. And if you think of it as a painting class, then your mind is on other things, more like color, value, you know, shape, edge, these kinds of things, rather than, you know, whatever the painting technique is. So it's interesting. All right. Now you never forget to hit those darks. And see, now you brought them down to the water really good. Now you really smacked those lights. Kerpow. All right. You know, I think Caroline was right. Maybe blurring the edges. Right in here.
Okay.
Like a little bit more blurred edges in there. In the water. A little more blurry edges in the water, not such hard edges. I think will help that. Like right in here, I think it's working great. Just perfect. So whenever you're putting those, you know what you can do is just wet down the edges and just dry brush. Okay. And then pull a couple of lilies over it and boom. That's it. Yeah. Slap a lily on it, you know. Yeah, great value. You got the values down. Smack. Dark, medium, light. Let's see. I think this tree could be a little darker. What do you think?
Okay.
It's a little darker.
Okay.
Just to get it to pop away from the background. It doesn't have to be black or anything. It doesn't have to be this dark, but just a little darker, I think.
Alrighty.
And then after you do that, make sure you throw in a couple of little lilies over the top. Maybe they're more in this. See, I'm doing them downhill too, Ethel. Yeah, you're right. You want to put them down. I didn't even tell you guys that either. I probably should have. To put them down more horizontal. Yeah, you did that very well. nice grass in the foreground. I got no problems with this. Nice sky, by the way. Nice sky. I love that little bloom you got in the sky there. Okay. And I think, you know, if you wanted to, you could put this a little bit more prominent into the water. But maybe you didn't want to because you didn't want it to stand out as much. It's just fine. I think I did the same thing. Beautiful piece.
Thank you. It was very fun.
Good. I'm glad. Now the whole reason to copy a master isn't necessarily. Whoops! Oh, this is your second one. Huh? It's not necessarily to make this perfect copy. It's more to learn how they did what they did. Okie dokie. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I didn't. We're looking at Marie?
It's Marie, yeah. Hi.
I was just wondering if this was your
Yeah, that's
one and only, or okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now what? Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Now, the fact that we can see through some of your white stuff almost makes it feel like fog.
Oh.
Which, I mean, doesn't bug me. I mean, as far as if I were just looking this as a painting without looking at it as being any kind of copy, that doesn't bug me at all. I mean, I love a still water little lake with the mist in the morning and all that. Those are kind of feel. So if you wanted to make it feel more opaque, I would just treat it like you did this one back here. Is that right? What am I doing wrong here? This. Yeah. Like this one. That one feels more opaque, whereas these feel a little more transparent.
Right.
Yeah. It's okay. Now, by the way, everybody, if you ever wanted to make a misty kind of thing going on in your painting, look at what she did. This is the way to do it. Get yourself kind of a milky white and just sort of wash it over it, and it'll just be beautiful. So, really nice handling of all this. Nice value. See how your tree really pops away from the sky. So the value of the tree, although lighter than this, is still quite dark and pops away from the sky very well. And then nice values into the water, and that's what makes it dark enough to where these can pop off. Let's see, maybe that's too big. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Now, is this color right here exactly the same color you used to do these lilies up here over the dark?
No.
It's a little darker?
Yeah, I darkened them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's just fine. And you threw a couple of shadows. This grass looks great. Wonderful. Okay. If you wanted to, if you get too many lilies all by themselves, it's not bad the way it is, by the way. I'm just saying, if they do, take a few and just group them. Give them connect a few of them.
Yeah.
I do that. I look for that. I'll do it in clouds too. I'll have like too many isolated clouds, so I'll connect them. You know, almost everything natural tends to do that. So, nice red, yellow, and blue in your sky. Really pretty. You brought that down in here. Really nice.
Enough.
Any questions?
No, I just I have to say, I think while you were talking, while you're doing your demonstration, and I was so into this that I know that you had lots of nuggets of wisdom that I didn't hear. So I'm so glad that you record this, because I really do go back and listen to it and get notes. It's I know you were really going through a lot, and I couldn't process it and paint it this time. So thank you for recording it.
It's a lot.
I love that. That's great. Thank you.
It's a lot. You're right. I'll try to work on that too. I know.
Oh, it's great. I mean, really, I listen to it. Actually, you can listen to it double speed. So that's what I do. I kind of.
Do I sound funny?
Yeah, he comes in and he goes, Marie, what language are you trying to learn? I said, no, it's not. I'm trying to learn another language.
I want to hear that. I'm going to listen to myself double speed one of these times.
Little chipmunk going on.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, thank you so much, and good luck with your family and the health over the holidays.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Well, I think that everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, I know it will be, but it's just a bad time.
Although her father, I don't know. We'll have to see. He's 89 and he's got a lot of conditions already.
Oh man.
So,
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Got Henry. All right. Hello, Henry. Beautiful.
Hi.
Now Henry uses opaques in his work all the time. I remember the first time you painted with me at the Huntington.
Yes.
You painted the front of that architecture, and you were
That's
using
1 year, 1 year and a half ago.
You have you use Naples yellow as one of your colors, right?
Yeah, I have all the opaque from Holbein, Naples. Yeah. Yes, I have that. I have some other things from with the gouache in it. Yes.
Yeah.
Like lavender, also. Yeah.
Some colors, some colors, even though they're watercolor, like Naples yellow, will still have a lot of white in it. So just so you know.
Mhm. There's a.
All right. Well, using white liberally. Look at this. It's beautiful. I love the. Look at the orchestration between. You've got glazing here. So even though you're looking through white into another color, it's still a glaze. It's always a glaze if you can see through it. And then you've got the crumbly edge of dry brushing over here, and fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good.
I love the differences in comparisons between the transparent and the opaque and semi-opaque and that type of thing. So.
Yeah, it's layering. Yeah.
And that's big in Sumi painting anyway, right?
Yes, it's done in multiple layers, and each layer is not supposed to be complete. So they work as an orchestra, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question, Henry? What paper did you use?
I use a rough, Arches rough.
Okay.
Yeah.
140 pound Arches.
Sorry.
Yeah.
140.
140.
Does that affect the dry brush, Robert?
Yeah, it'll make them more crumbly edges like this, like up in the sky. Yeah, you'll get more of these kind of edges. Now I'm getting them too, but you'll even get more with a rougher paper.
Yeah, I think Zorn probably used the rough paper to get those teeth effect.
Yeah, you might have been using rough paper. I'm just using the standard Arches 140.
Yeah. Oh, I see the cold press. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do have some rough paper here.
It's the orange colored cover pad. I have a it's a loose pad. It's.
I don't know if you can see the difference. I have mine up here, but one's rougher. It's hard to see the difference. Anyway, yeah, the 140 is quite a bit smoother. You know what? I didn't realize this. You know what? I am using rough paper. I didn't realize that. I am using rough paper.
You did? Okay.
Aha! I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. But I'm using 140.
Yeah.
How come my edges look just like yours?
It's the same.
Yeah.
You would think the same. We thought the same. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, well, nice looking painting.
Thank you for the excellent process. demo process. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're already really familiar with this. That's what happens, you know. Sometimes you will be, sometimes this is new. Now I know, Mitsuko, I know you're pretty familiar with using opaque paint as well.
Yeah.
Now did you learn that in Sumi painting, or just learn it on your own, or?
I think it's learning on my own.
On your own, yeah.
Yeah. I like to make myself appear, but I don't have. Because I was talking to you kind of rude to talk from the dark.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah. All right. I mean, your technique is fine. No problem at all.
Uh-huh.
I could see possibly, no, just as a value thing, I could possibly see some, where am I? Some darker values.
Darker? Yes.
Yeah. Maybe that would make your, you know, now when you pop your little lights on top of that, it'll show up better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's only a value thing. It's not the technique is just fine.
I use, the paint, it's a Japanese paint. It has lots of greens. So sometimes it just confuses me, which one to use.
A lot of those paints are pretty opaque anyway, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so. Yeah, sometimes too many colors can be confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
And try to get what you are doing, because I like to, learn what you're doing, the colors.
Yeah.
So that was confusing, because I don't have what you have.
Well, I have I just basically used, I used my standard palette.
Yes.
And then I did throw a little bit of that orange in once in a while.
Orange?
Not very much.
Yeah.
Very little, but and you can get that just by mixing the cad yellow and cad red.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, I pretty much use a standard palette. Now, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Zorn palette. I don't think he used it in the watercolor as much, though, but he may have. He uses vermilion as his red, and black as his blue, and then yellow ochre, and white, and that's it. So how about that? That's a limited palette. And I know he used that on portraits, people's faces and things, and oh my gosh, he did it really well. I mean, it looked fantastic. But they literally call it the Zorn palette because, wow, 4 colors and that's it. So I think he used more than that in this, but who knows? You wouldn't believe what you can get out of it. By mixing the black and the vermilion together and white, you get these really subtle little lavenders. So anyway, the point is a limited palette is a good idea. You get too many of my little crutch colors in there and it ruins the whole deal.